Toyota decided to drop a big one yesterday. Not only did they reveal one new electronic concept, not two, not three, but 16 unique EV concepts. And the Toyota themselves, they say that none of these concepts are very far away from production. So they're most likely going to see production, all of these vehicles, the Toyotas and the Lexuses. And I think it's really cool and surprising, but at the same time, kind of expected. I'm gonna let you know why in just a second. So what we're gonna do in this video, I wanna show you all of the concepts, all the 16 unique EV concepts from Toyota here, but I wanna focus on three, I think maybe three, let's see what we have here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 concepts of these 16 that I wanna focus on, and I'm gonna save the best for last. Because there is one concept here that's specifically interesting that we're going to talk about later in this video. So what Toyota did here is, why I think this is a surprise and at the same time it's kind of expected is, I've thought of Toyota, I've wondered the last 3 or 4 years, like what is Toyota doing when it comes to EVs? We see Hyundai, we see Kia, we see Genesis coming out with this really cool looking concept and production electric vehicles. Toyota and I think Honda as well. Honda is also in this same category as Toyota. They haven't really shown us anything cool in a very, very long time. Yes, they just released a BZ4X, but it's a joint venture with the Subaru, as you know, so it's basically the same car, and it's not really that exciting. And they've been reluctant to move into this EV era, but that has all obviously changed now with these 16 new EV concepts here by Toyota and from Lexus as well. So even though it was a surprise dropping all of these 16 in just one day, it was kind of expected because Toyota is such a big brand. They have to eventually get into this EV move and get going with their EV concepts and show what the plan is for the brand moving forward. So they want to have 3.5 million EVs sold per year by 2030, which is still pretty low compared to, for example, Volkswagen says they want to have the majority of their sales be EVs by the same time. So what do I want to show you now? I want to show you these 4 concepts that I think are at least most interesting to me. And also, just think about this. When you can think whatever you want about EVs and that they lack spirit, they lack soul. I kind of agree with that. They are a little bit like a computer on wheels. But when it comes to the design, if you're a designer right now, these concepts just show how fun you can have with car design if you're a designer right now, because up until this moment, up until the EV era here, designers have been constrained. They have had these boundaries that is the package of the car. And the package of a car in terms of car design terms is the engine, where the engine is placed, where the passengers, how they're gonna sit inside of this package, where the transmission gonna fit, and all of these pieces need to fit inside this package. And then you have the designers design the car around that package. And it's been very hard to come up with new ideas because it's been basically the same package for a century up until right now. So these concepts really show the creativity coming back into car design, and I'm really happy about that. I'm really happy that Toyota just decided to go crazy here with these 16 concepts in one day. So this first concept here that I want to talk about is what they call, I think they call this like a small sports car EV or something like that. There's not really a lot of information out yet about each individual concepts here. So I'm just gonna let you know what I think about this design and kind of think back to older models of Toyota and what these kind of reminds me of. So this looks like almost like an MR2 design. We have this very clear identifying LED going all around the front face right here, and I think this could be maybe a brand new trademark for Toyota moving forward, having a line that goes from the top half graphic features of the car and then intruding down to the bumper part as well. So kind of like 2 clamps on the side of the front face. You will definitely not be able to mistake it for anything else than a Toyota if they decide to go with some graphics like this. And what I think is interesting here is if you look at this part right here, it has a sharp top here. So this line here, it's actually a sharp line that then goes into this fender and kind of fades out into nothing here. You can see that it looks a little weird in my opinion, because it looks super sharp, almost like a peak of a mountain up here in this point right here. So it's not really a smooth line, but at the same time it's a new interpretation of a beautiful fender line. And you can do stuff like this when you have an electronic platform, because as we've talked about many times before, when you have just a battery pack underneath the car, designers are free to build whatever they want on top of it, because all the components that are necessary to get the propulsion of a car moving forward, they're already in either the wheels, the motors in the wheels, or the motors that sit right above the battery platform. And everything above that, you can create whatever you want. And I think that's really shining through in these concepts here. And you can definitely tell that the designers had a lot of fun creating these concepts. So the next concept that I want to talk about is, of course, we gotta talk about this. This is, of course, inspired by the FJ Cruiser. Now, if Toyota starts coming out with stuff like this, up until now, I haven't really talked about Toyota as a brand that has fun, interesting design. It's all about Kia, Hyundai at the moment, a little bit Genesis, but Toyota has been really in the background when it comes to new, innovative designs and fun, happy, retro designs that they have the opportunity to build on. And I think this is just a perfect example of bringing back old, traditional, fun, iconic designs such as the FJ Cruiser and put it into this funky electric platform or concept right here. And this looks like it doesn't look too far away from production. This down here, as you can see, it looks like a 3D model, while this one up here is the actual physical model. Of course, you can see that the top one has more of a realistic approach to the reflections and so on, and it doesn't look too far away from production. And the thing is, when you look at this concept, you can see that it's clearly inspired by the FJ Cruiser. And I think that's such a cool idea that I've also talked about here on the channel, to bring back old iconic concepts of old brands or current brands, and bring back the old iconic models and build them into cool, funky EVs. This is a perfect example of that. If you look at the old sketches, the first sketches and the first concept of the FJ Cruiser, this has the same kind of vibe as those early sketches back in the day for the FJ Cruiser, and also the FJ Cruiser concept before it turned into production, which, by the way, if you look at the production and the concept, a very interesting and unique, almost unheard of transition from concept to production when it comes to the FJ Cruiser. So that was a really cool design by Toyota back in the day. And this right here looks like it could be, it looks a little bit smaller than an FJ Cruiser, but it still looks like a very funky and fun design, something that designers, of course, probably had a lot of fun designing this thing right here. The next concept I want to talk about before we jump into the last one, which in my opinion is, I wouldn't say the most important one, but I think the most interesting one here. So this right here is a concept from Lexus, and what they say here about this concept is it's inspired by the LFA. And right from that point we have a problem, because the LFA, to me, what makes the LFA special, and I think that's what makes it special to most people, the design, it's not really the design. It's not, I wouldn't call it a beautiful car, the LFA, but where it shines is the noise of the LFA engine. It sounds like one of these old 20 years ago F1 engines when they go on full blast, and that noise, transitioning that feeling, that vibe, that soul into an EV, a big challenge for Toyota or Lexus here. But you can see that it looks very cool. We have a very fluid front end right here, kind of similar to the MR2 concept that I just showed you with the outline here. And we didn't talk much about the Toyota design here. What I like about this, by the way, quickly before we go into the LFA, is I like the graphic features here. It's very simple, very boxy, and it's a new take on the round headlights that we had on the FJ Cruiser. I think this is also in line with, you see this clamp design here? I think this is what we're gonna see from Toyota moving forward, as we had right here, in different kinds of styling, in different variations, but we're still gonna have the same clamp design. In some cases it might be smaller like this, like we have on the FJ right here, or in some cases it might be bigger like this, like we have on what I call the MR2 EV. But let's talk about the LFA that they say is inspired by the LFA. Look at this beautiful line that goes from the C-pillar here, and this C-pillar actually reminds me a lot of the LFA, and you can see that they took inspiration right in that corner from the LFA, and I think it's a cool transition into a new take on that design. This is a lot more organic, and in my opinion, a lot more beautiful design than the LFA. And this line then goes in right here into this. I think this has to be like an air outlet right here, so air probably comes in here and then shoots out right here. And it's a cool design, and it looks same thing here, not too far from production. And the thing about this, look at the proportions of this thing. I'm not sure you can make an internal combustion engine with these types of proportions. Super low, super wide, and it just looks like a concept car. And that's the cool thing about EVs, again, that the concepts are probably gonna look, or the production version are probably gonna look a lot like any type of EV concepts that we're gonna see moving forward. Now, last but not least, let's talk about what has to be the new Tacoma up here. So this, to me, looks almost exactly what I would think the new Tacoma would look like. You can see the 3D model up here, and then you have the actual model right here next to the FJ Cruiser. The reason why I think this is probably what the next Tacoma is going to look like, just with a normal grille here. And of course, I'm pretty sure they're gonna make a Tacoma EV. If they haven't announced it officially already, which I'm sure they have, there will be a Tacoma EV, and this is most likely exactly, almost, some small changes what it will look like. The reason for that, if we put in the current Tacoma right here, you can see this transition here from this front fascia into this. And of course, the Tacoma is, I think, still the best-selling mid-size truck in the States, and they sell a lot of these Tacomas. They're super popular still, even though they've been around for a long time now. So if you want to continue that trend, you don't want to mess it up too much. Why fix something that isn't broken? So the styling is going to be a lot like the current Tacoma down here. You can see right here, the grille is almost the same kind of shape right here. The headlights pretty much similar to what we have right here, with some new design features. This is probably going to be the daytime running lights right here, LED down here, and so one LED at the top. And another reason why I think this will be the next production version Tacoma is if we pop in the new Tundra right here, you can see that this is clearly a perfect example of a little brother of the Tundra. What I mean by that, look at the structure here of the graphics in the front right here. We have the intake here, gonna have the same kind of intake right here, and the LEDs, the lights going down here as well. It goes down here on the Tundra, but a little bit less on the Tacoma. And the bumper design is similar to what we have on the Tundra. But this is what I talked about in yesterday's video as well. So the smaller the vehicle, you still want to have it be familiar. You want to have it be in line with the rest of the lineup, with the same kind of family DNA. But you want to have it a little bit more stylized when it's a smaller truck or a smaller vehicle. That's exactly what's going on here. What I mean by that is this is the stately boss truck right here, the Tundra. This is the fun little brother. So what I mean by having more stylized features is, for example, there are a lot of examples here. For example, let's start in the bottom. We have this angle right here, for example, of the black part right here. In the Tundra, we want to have it be more upright, more vertical and horizontal lines, more architectural approach to the design. Same thing with the bumper. The bumper on the Tacoma have angles, while we have more of a horizontal line right here. That goes for this intake right here as well, which we have on the Tundra being just a vertical lines like that, but on the Tacoma we have more of a styling feature right here. Same goes for the headlights, very structural here on the Tacoma, and a little bit more organic and funky here on the Tundra. And of course, last but not least, the grille has the traditional current Tacoma design on the grille, while on the Tundra it's more of a very I don't know what to call it, but it's a lot more rules. It's a lot more 45 degree and 90 degree angles in the Tundra, whereas in the Tacoma you can have a little curvatures and more angles on the design features, and it just looks like the perfect little brother to the Tundra here. So this to me is definitely the most interesting concept by Toyota, because I think this is the one that's closest to production, not just EV, but I think this is almost exactly what the next Toyota Tacoma will look like. I think they put this out to kind of get some feeling of what we think of it, because it's such an important model, and this looks like it's ready for production right now. So they put this design out to get some feedback and some vibes from what the audience thinks about this. I think it looks great. I think it looks absolutely fantastic, and I think it looks like the perfect next generation Tacoma. So very cool designs and concept by Toyota, and very well done executed. I'm really surprised only that they dropped 16 concepts at the same time. But as I said, it was kind of a surprise, but also a little bit expected.